Good afternoon. The date is March 17th. The time is 4:49 p.m. I'd like to call to order the March 17th meeting of the Norwalk Board of Police Commissioners. We have a quorum with Commissioner Collier Clemens, Commissioner Tony Lopez, Commissioner Nate Sumter, Commissioner Ron Palladino, and Mayor Rilling. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of February 24th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Palladino moves. Commissioner Sumter, you're still on mute. I saw you speaking, but I didn't hear you say anything.
I didn't say anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any
Well-
corrections, deletions, or omissions?
I have none.
I have none, Mayor.
I have none.
Okay, all in favor of approval of the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have public comment. Do we have anybody wishing to address the Police Commission on an item that is on the agenda?
If anybody would like to speak, can you please raise your hand electronically? Mr. Levin, you are unmuted.
Okay. That's me. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is John Levin again. I have submitted my concerns to this commission on previous occasions. Sadly, I've received no response in any form from this commission or from any of you individually. Moreover, I think my concerns have been ignored. This is deeply disappointing because I think I have respectfully pointed out some serious deficiencies in how this commission meets its responsibilities and does its job. As I reminded you all last year, the police officers' union contract expired 9 months ago. A new contract is being negotiated now, by whom we, the public, don't know, but of course we deserve to know. And yes, it really is your job to read the expired contract, understand it, ask questions, and get answers about anything in it and determine how it can be improved. Well, there is at least one obvious and glaringly inappropriate provision in the existing contract that should be removed.
Okay, Mr. Levin, I'm going to have to ask you to stop because this is not an item on the agenda, and we would be in violation of the Freedom of Information Act if we discuss an item that's not on the agenda because the public has not been notified that
You
that
are
item
deciding to censor me, and that's completely
I'm
inappropriate.
telling you what
You are deciding to censor me.
Okay,
This is
would you
public
please
comment,
block Mr.
and
Levin? Thank you. Okay, next item. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council, the commission?
There is not, Mayor.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the February Officer of the Month, Deputy Chief Walsh.
Yes, sir. Yes, for February 2025 Officer of the Month, Officer John Brankenfort was chosen for 2 investigations. He was chosen due to his continued professional and dedicated service in 2 separate investigations. Both cases were self-initiated. One led to the recovery of a stolen car with its VIN number changed, and the second involved arresting a convicted felon with an illegal handgun. On February 5th, 2025, at approximately 6:41, Officer Brankenfort demonstrated exceptional situational awareness and judgment that led to the recovery of an illegal firearm from a parolee with an extensive felony history. While conducting traffic enforcement on Pine Street, Officer Brankenfort observed a vehicle commit multiple violations and initiated a car stop. Upon approaching the car with 3 individuals occupied, Officer Brankenfort immediately recognized behavioral cues such as the passenger indicating he would flee from the vehicle and hiding an item in his waistband. As the subject attempted to flee, Officer Brankenfort was able to subdue him and bring him to the ground where he recovered a loaded polymer ghost gun from the waistband of the individual. The individual was also found in possession of marijuana and had a history of robbery and weapons-related offenses, including illegal firearm possession and resisting arrest. On the 17th of February, Officer Brankenfort conducted a car stop on a newer Acura bearing an out-of-state transporter plate. During the investigation, reasonable suspicion was developed that the vehicle may have been stolen re-VIN. Some of the factors that led to reasonable suspicion being developed was a generic key fob assigned to the car, the VIN number not having any history before 2024, even though the vehicle was a 2022 model, and the car bearing a transporter plate, and the owner admitting to buying the vehicle on Facebook Marketplace. Officers received consent to search the car for a secondary VIN number. Upon searching the vehicle, a secondary VIN was located on the floorboard, which revealed that the car was re-VINed and stolen out of New York. Both instances exemplify Officer Brankenfort's dedication to public safety, sharp investigative instincts, and ability to manage high-risk encounters with professionalism and control. His actions reflect the highest law enforcement standards and deserve recognition for his outstanding police work.
Congratulations to Officer Brankenfort. It's amazing. We see over and over again how routine car stops turn into something else quite frequently. And generally, the types of arrests that are made with weapons and narcotics and outstanding warrants usually begin with a car stop. So it's just another example of an officer out there doing his job and ensuring that the public is safe by continuing with the follow-up. An amazing job. So I want to thank Officer Brankenfort personally for that. Commissioners?
Congratulations to Officer Brankenfort for a job well done. And I appreciate it as well as I'm sure the rest of the Norwalk citizens did.
I'd like to congratulate Officer Brankenfort and again state that, what they learn, what they're taught, their experience, and how they're able to utilize it in just routine stops and just make discoveries. He observed and he initiated it. I mean, this was all self-initiated, just a routine stop, and he was able to bring criminal off the street and find a car that was stolen. I don't know whether the person bought it knew it or not, but just because of his skills that he'd been taught and the ongoing training sessions that we have for the police officers is just admirable. Congratulations. Thank you.
I too want to thank Officer Brankenfort for his dedication, skill set, his ability to discern things on the spot and show that he's going to, in other words, see it through. We only wonder if nothing ever happened, what adverse outcome could have resulted if this individual was not stopped. So I think that for sure he is to be commended, and thank you again.
I too would like to thank the officer for a job well done. And it sounds so similar to what happened last month. And for a while I was reading, I was like, is this the same thing? But I found out it's not. It's another piece of great police work by the city of Norwalk. And congratulations for bringing down the suspects. Great job.
Okay. Thank you much. And again, congratulations for the recognition. Next on the agenda is the February executive report, Chief.
Yes, sir. Sworn personnel updates. We have 182 sworn personnel, 1 open sworn position in February. 1 officer on administrative leave pending an internal affairs investigation, 3 officers on extended workman's comp. Sick days used 171.8. Workman's compensation days used 71. 1 officer remains on field training, and Officer Kevin Schoenthal was promoted to sergeant in February. Civilian personnel updates. We have 19 telecommunicators, supervisors assigned to community combined dispatch. There are 2 open positions. Human Relations has posted a job and testing is underway. Just for an update, they finished their first phase of critical call testing and will be doing interviews next week to fill those dispatch positions. 14 civilian employees assigned to support staff positions, fully staffed. Onboarded a new social worker from the Recovery Network for the Behavioral Health Unit in February, so we're fully staffed in the BHU currently. Department initiatives and current issues. in the month of February, final preparations for the CALIA review that begins on March 11th. And as an update, the CALIA assessment ended on Friday, and we passed all areas, and we'll be moving forward to our on-site assessment in November. So that was our mid-year assessment of all our CALIA policies. So that's moving, that went well. Recruitment and police app tested, the app opened up for testing for future applicants. Fully implemented the Prepared 911 program, a program that translates 38 languages for the 911 call taker into text form. That's operational and communications. From the state of Connecticut, we received the 2024 first quarter crime stats were released. Norwalk crimes against persons are down 15.8%, crimes against property down 17.5%, and crimes against society are down 25%. So that's the first quarter of 2024. And moving forward, the state will be releasing that NIBRS data on a quarterly basis. That's their goal, according to them. Finance and current fiscal year budgeting, all budgets monitored by Mr. Dossimo of Administrative Services. Please see the appended spreadsheet of the February 2025 budgeting status. 2025 and 26 fiscal year operating and capital budgets prepared and submitted to Finance and Vet for review and approval. Currently, we had a 2.52 operational budget increase over since last year. All operating salary and overtime budgets are tracked in the green for 7 months through the fiscal year so far. As you can see from the administrative report prepared by Mr. Dossimo, uniform patrol overtime down 41%, special services down 51%, detective bureau down 13%, training division down 15%, SVU division down 39%. OT and 5 accounts being monitored, they're down 47% across the board from February 2024 and 45% from January 2025. There's various information for your review on this form in regards to data entry. Other administrative projects that are underway are alarm administration, our off-duty work for the month of February, 737 jobs. The officers work 7,993 extra work hours.
Okay.
As you
Any-
see
Oh,
in
I'm
the
sorry, go ahead.
end of February 2025, our budget for salaries is at 63%. After eight months into the fiscal year, we're tracking below. And overtime, we're at 48%, also tracking below our fiscal expenditures for the year.
Any questions from the commission?
Yes, Chief. What are the differences between crimes against persons and crimes against society? But I didn't quite understand that.
Crimes against society, crimes against persons are assaults, sexual assaults, those kind of crimes. Crimes against society are categorized as prostitution, narcotics, gambling, vice-related issues. They're not just a crime against a specific individual, but a crime against society as a whole. That's the way the state in FBI categorizes those crimes. And crimes against property is burglary of cars, stolen cars, burglary of residence and such.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
I have none.
I have none, but thank you, Chief.
You're
Very
welcome.
Very comprehensive report, and I congratulate you on the overtime issue. I know sometimes with unanticipated emergencies, those things can get out of hand. So that's a good sign. Chief, you want to just mention a little bit? I know I get a lot of favorable comments from the public about the school security. Somebody looking at this would say, wow, that overtime is really high. But you want to just give the commission a little bit of a detailed, a little bit of an explanation as to how that works.
Yes, I'm on page 1 of the administrative, it's actually page 2. But on the first page of Mr. Dossimo's report, you can see a section called School Security Overtime, and it's broken down. It begins with August and September with the school year. Those are the amount of expenditures that we spend on school security overtime. Currently, We spend, we deploy about 40 hours a day of school security, and we cover about 36 hours of that overtime. NPS covers about 4 hours of that. So we're paying for that overtime, and we budget with that and working with finance every single year. And the officers are assigned geographically. We have one officer at each high school assigned full-time, and the other 3 are assigned geographically to the mixture of middle and elementary schools, so they can proactively patrol all those areas in close proximity to each other to provide maximum security, and is like a force multiplier on top of patrol. And that doesn't include our school resource officers. So at any given day, we could have well over a dozen to 16 officers just for school security and as school resource over services.
How do we go from 70 to 40?
That's the flow of the payroll.
Okay.
Yes, believe it or not, I've asked that question too, and that's the way the flow of the payroll, it comes in, how many days off they have, because it's all based on the school calendar with days on and off and holidays. I've asked that same question myself, and I've actually looked into it. It's just the flow of the way the payrolls come in through the comptroller and the way it hits the account.
Understood. Thank you.
Any further questions?
I have none.
I have none, Mayor.
I have none.
Okay, next we have the operations report, Deputy Chief Blake.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For February 2025, our Detective Bureau opened 19 cases. In February, they made arrests on an individual regarding a manslaughter first, cruelty to persons, and risk of injury, which was a 2024 homicide of a baby. They arrested a suspect that was wanted for larceny, third forgery, third ID theft. They extradited that individual from New York. They also arrested a suspect for unlawful discharge and associated crimes for a negligent discharge of a firearm inside a home here in Norwalk. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. Special Services in February opened 34 cases. They executed a search warrant at a home on Lexington Avenue, recovered cocaine and heroin, and arrested a suspect. They conducted an online prostitution investigation. The individuals engaged in prostitution were utilizing a location in Norwalk to commit that crime. The investigators made 2 arrests there. They also executed search warrants in Norwalk and Bridgeport. 2 suspects were arrested along with opioid pills and firearms that were seized. This was a result of investigation by our FBI task force officer working with the Bridgeport authorities as well. So it was a great case and a lot of hard work by that investigator. Special Victims opened 31 cases in February. They arrested an individual for assault, third, risk of injury, and disorderly conduct. That individual had been a paraprofessional at Nathan Hale and had assaulted that student in December of 2024. Officers Prada and Alderando attended the Domestic Violence Crisis Center movie night at the Sono Collection and to help raise awareness for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Marine Unit, again, a little bit slow this time of year due to the cold weather, but that Walk Bridge project continues to be very busy for them. They also were able to assist in review credit training that's ongoing in the department. And of course, we're working with the Harbor Commission. We had 142 arrests in February, and the Patrol Division responded to 5,433 calls per service. The second platoon of the day shift continues to be the busiest shift in the department. Moving on to our selective enforcement report, 961 stops there in February for a total of 2,278 for the year. And the other associated item, the other attachments are just statistics that you can review at your leisure.
Any questions from the commission?
I have none. Thank you, Deputy Chief Blake.
I have none, and thank you, Deputy Chief.
I have none. And again, thank you for your service, Deputy Chief Blake.
Thank you.
Very good report. Thank you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
You too.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you.
Okay, that brings us to the Community Affairs, Deputy Chief Dinho.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable commissioners. For the month of February, the Community Police Services Division had 816 calls for service. We had several events, but the 10 major ones were the Children and Family Safety Presentation, a funeral escort, the Norwalk Partnership Committee meeting with local clergy for the Clergy Academy preparation, Chinese New Year event at the Norwalk Public Library. There was outreach at St. Philip's Church with Father D'Souza for construction vehicles. There was an outreach event at the Malta House to meet the new director and residents. We had a coffee with the cop at Alora Cafe. There was the first responders lunch at Tracy School and community outreach at DVCC Teen Movie Night. Our traffic unit for the month of February made a total of 354 stops. They issued 76 parking violations, installed 6 car seats. And we had for the month a total of 34 selective enforcement locations. Trying something new for this month's report, I included the location for every day in the month of February of where our traffic unit conducted enforcement. And in the past, you'll see the ones in the red are as a result of the Yukon traffic database enforcement. We take statistics from there and then assign those locations for targeted enforcement. And the ones in green are as a result of resident complaints requesting enforcement. Our behavioral health unit opened 37 new cases. They addressed 37 of them and closed 31. 15 of those cases received hospitalizations. In 2 of those, they partnered with the state's attorney at GA1 Stanford. 21 of those cases were referred to services and 9 worked with families. Our training division for the month of February had a total of 5 subject areas, and they were attended by 43 officers as our research training cycle is underway. And the last page will show you a breakdown of those courses. The last 2 pages, my apologies.
Okay. You want to explain just a little bit about the requirement for state mandated training for the officers? I think we may have done that before, but just as a little bit of an explanation as to how that works.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Over a period of 3 years, every officer is required to complete a minimum amount of training hours. And what we do is we break it down into 3 groups in the department. And we have an ongoing rotating schedule to keep all the officers' certification in place. It's kind of, if you would, a professional license that the state requires to be a police officer. And then that's monitored by our training division. And then the police officers, the police academy up in Meriden also keeps a monitor on that.
And the required hours is?
I believe the last was 60, but I believe we're up a little bit further than 60 hours over a 3-year period.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
I have none. I just want to comment that your report, very thorough as always. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Deputy Chief Dinho, on the selective enforcement locations, do you track them as far as what areas are, I'll call it a hot spot, meaning you got a lot of traffic stops versus another area where maybe there wasn't that many?
But what we do actually with also the Yukon database is it monitors traffic accidents throughout the entire state. And then we zoom in on Norwalk and it does actually show hotspots of where there seems to be a commonality in traffic accidents. And then it breaks it down by traffic type. So we also use that to assign officers to that area. For example, Route 1, Connecticut Avenue sees a lot of traffic hotspots. And so we assign officers to those locations.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Deputy Chief, last month, I think I asked why we had Norwalk Police Department by the officer that attended a particular training session. And it was explained by Deputy Chief Lepore. that sometimes other police departments utilize our training sessions if that's not being taught or available in theirs. And I see here for the civil liability that we had police officers from Trumbull, Newtown, Wilton, Reading, Darien, Greenwich, Westport, Brookfield. Thank you so much for the information, Chief Lepore, and thank you for this detailed report.
I have no comments, but thank you, Deputy Chief Denho. Appreciate that very much. Very good report.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Okay, that brings us to Deputy Chief Lepore for the administrative report.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. So for our administrative report, our grants were kind of quiet this month. We had DUI had 22 grant hires for the month of February, with a total of 192 hours worked. Officers made 155 car stops, issued 127 infraction tickets, and made 11 DUI arrests. There was no other grant funding that was utilized during the month of February. We had, there was 2 grants that were applied for, our Project Safe Neighborhood, which was reapplied for. If you remember, we applied for it last year, but it was denied. So we revamped our application and resubmitted it. And also our Distracted Driver. Distracted Driver grant was awarded at the beginning of this month for the amount of $69,000. These funds are to be utilized for distracted driver enforcement actions during the month of April. So we have 30 days to use that money. So there's going to be a lot of officers on the street. We continually monitor the grants through state and federal websites. There's no staff inspections for the month of February. And then moving on to the crime scene unit, we had 107 persons fingerprinted, 33 which were for pistol permits. 16 cases were for DVDs and photos, 30 cases processed for evidence, 71 patrol cases were processed. That includes the camera and photographic downloads of any type of scene. They conducted background investigations for massage therapists, 1 from Green Living Spa, 1 from Massage Envy, and 1 from Angel Reflexology. We had 4 solicitor permits that were issued for Limitless, which is part of Frontier, in February. No pawnbroker precious metal permits were requested, and the CSI unit was not deployed. The vehicle was not deployed during the month of February. For professional standards, so as you know, we had the promotion exam that was given in February, and all the results were completed. So officers coming out first had written and assessment center scores in the mid-90s. It was very competitive. They spent a lot of time studying and preparing for these exams. We were very happy with the results, and these officers worked their butts off. The chief issued the personnel order with the results, and as you know, last month, one of the top officers that scored first was already promoted to sergeant to fill the vacancy from Sergeant Fern. We assisted Corporation Counsel with 3 civil cases. The IA Lieutenant Orr is finishing up on the annual report that should be out by the end of this month. And we also had 1 intern that applied from Sacred Heart University, is working with the SVU unit. Body and dashboard cameras, we only had 1 issue with a camera that was returned, and a replacement was issued. We had 60 new requests for case videos. 32 cases were submitted with discs and awaiting payment for release. 28 electronic shares with Stanford Court, and they continue the performance audits on a monthly basis for officer equipment usage and video tagging. Communication with them takes place on a regular basis for any issues or concerns with any of the hardware or software with all the officers. As the chief mentioned before, our CALEA onsite, or our 3rd year review, was taking place in the beginning of March. That did go well. I can give you a complete breakdown of that in next month's monthly report. There were no issues in our 3rd review, though, that took place last week, so that was good. And then we'll be moving on to our 4th year review, which is in September, and then our physical onsite, which will be in the end of October this year.
Sounds like everybody's really busy.
Yes.
And congratulations on the onsite passing. That's pretty good. I know they did. The chief was telling me they inspected the property room, which is always one of the most difficult. So,
Yes.
good job. The other thing is, just quickly for the commissioner's edification, you mentioned grants.
Mhm.
We are proceeding cautiously with any grants that are federal pass-throughs to the state, simply because we don't know exactly what grants are going to be awarded and what grants are not. We've already gotten word that a couple of non-police related grants have been pulled. So we've been relying on some of these grants, and it's unfortunate that they're pulling them without sufficient explanation or reason. So very difficult times. Any questions from the commission?
Thank you,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Lepore. I just have a question on the grants and inspections, second bullet. So the fact that there was no funding utilized for the month of February just merely means there was just no grant for that month. Is that right?
Yes, no other grant was utilized, just the DUI grant we utilize.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Deputy Chief, you mentioned that one of the grants that you have has to be completed or used in 1 month, and there'd be a lot of officers on the street. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that and how that works?
Sure. So distracted driving month is the month of April, and the state comes out with a state issued grant from the Department of Transportation that is directly related to distracted driver. Cell phones, all that kind of good stuff. Dogs on the laps, any type of distracted driver. So we have to spend $70,000 in that 30 days. Those are the restrictions that they put on the grant the state gives you. So last year, I think we had about $54,000. We did so well and our numbers were so good that they upped it when we applied for it this year. So that basically is going to break down to probably like 4 officers a day, twice a day. And we're restricted on the time frame, the day of the week, and locations where they're going to be. So it's going to be commuting times, in the morning, in the evenings, some of the major roadways, just like Deputy Chief Dinho said with the crash investigative information from Yukon. So it's going to be on busy streets and thing like that, just to hopefully cut down on there's distracted driving and also accidents or any type of pedestrian, accidents. But yes, we only have 30 days to utilize it. So, and we're restricted on timeframes and whatever else the parameters are that the state puts on it.
Now, in addition to dogs on the lap, which that one really surprised me, and cell phones. What else are you looking for? I mean, what is some of are those 2 the main ones that you look for?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So you're not worried about me fixing my hair while I'm driving?
Well, we did have somebody that was eating a bowl of cereal at one point and said it was eating a bowl of cereal with 2 hands, that said it was not distracted driving.
Right.
Yes. So.
Thank you for your report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief Lepore, do we ever have grants that we don't use all the money?
Yes. Yes.
What happens to that money?
We have to give it back.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it has happened before. It doesn't happen that often. We try to utilize as much as we can. Like with our DUI grant, we're going to cut them back in March. So you won't see as many statistics next month because we've utilized a lot of it through the holidays and everything in January and February. So we'll utilize it for the holidays and then we'll save it more for the summer months so we can hit the Memorial Day, the 4th of July, busy weekends where there's a lot more people out and there's a lot more opportunity for people to get hurt from drunk driving. But yeah, we'll utilize it. And we have reporting requirements that we have to do quarterly for these grants. So we submit that and we try and figure out how much we can utilize it and tier everything so that we don't have to give back any money. But there's been 1 or 2 times that we've given back money. We just can't fund it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have none, Mayor.
I have none. Thank you.
Now, this brings us to the more fun part, the happier part of the agenda. Chief? You're on mute.
Yes,
There you go.
in the matter of personnel matters,
Yes.
As we all know, Lieutenant Mark Lepore retired on March 14th, 2025, which left a lieutenant's position open, and then a subsequent sergeant's position after that. So Sergeant Ramon Tejada recently took the lieutenant promotional examination in January and February, and he excelled on the exam. He got an overall score of 91.2289, a 93 on his written, and his oral assessment was a 96.4, and he finished number 1 on the lieutenant's examination. He was recently promoted to sergeant in 2023, in January 2023, and he's excelled at that position, and he's working his way up the chain of command. He's an excellent supervisor with a great future here in the police department. With that promotion to lieutenant, that the second matter would be Officer David Bush to the rank of sergeant. David, currently assigned to the training division, does very important work there, and he does a great job. Will be promoted to sergeant. He came out number 2 on the sergeant's promotion examination. He had a overall score of 89.934 with a 94 on his written and a 87.94 on his assessment center. So David also excelled in the sergeant examination, and like I said, he's been assigned to training, working for Lieutenant Galino, and we're looking forward to bringing his expertise to patrol once he gets promoted to sergeant. So those 2 matters are before the commission for a motion, promotion of Sergeant Ramon Tejada to the rank of lieutenant effective March 20th, 2025, and the promotion of Officer David Bush to the rank of sergeant effective March 20th, 2025. And both officers are with us today.
Yep, I see on Officer Bush's screen, there's 3 people. Which one is the officer? The one in the middle.
This is Olivia and this is Nate. They're very excited to be here, as you can tell.
Okay, well, I need a motion first. Oh my goodness.
That must,
Let me mute them.
that must be Nate. That's all right, Nate.
So in order to promote Sergeant Officer Bush to sergeant, we need to promote Sergeant Tejada to lieutenant first. So I need a motion to promote Lieutenant or Sergeant Ramon Tejada to the rank of lieutenant. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I
Okay.
move the promotion of Sergeant Tejada to lieutenant.
Okay.
Sorry, Nate.
Oh, that's okay. But I got the other Nate with me right there, so
Okay.
they'll get a friend in the Nate column. Okay.
Are there any discussion?
Yeah, I definitely want to congratulate Officer Tejada for his promotion and look forward to hearing many, many great things about you. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you to the mayor, police commissioners, and the chiefs.
Congratulations.
Well, he hasn't been promoted yet, fellas and gals. Okay, so let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations, Sergeant Tejada, soon to be lieutenant. This will take effect on March 14th. March 20th.
March 20th.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, on March 20th, again, we'll have a promotion ceremony.
The swearing in, yes, the administration of
swearing
the
in.
oath of office.
Yeah, that'll be on the 19th, sir. I sent you an invite.
Okay,
4 o'clock at headquarters.
okay. Congratulations, officer who will become or is the new lieutenant.
Thank you, Commissioner. Much appreciated.
Yes, sir.
So now I will ask for a motion for the promotion of Sergeant Officer David Bush to the rank of sergeant. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion to vote.
Made by Commissioner Sumter.
Yes, who has a little Nate there, and that's okay.
He's very excited. There's
No,
another Nate.
sit in the
Yeah.
So, well, they're enjoying a family moment. So this is really good.
Yes.
So, do we have any discussion? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And now congratulations are in order, commissioners.
Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations to both officers.
You guys want to say hi?
Promotion.
Yeah. There you go.
Hi. You got your handful there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always nice when we get to promote people within the ranks of the police department. Certainly gratifying to see them wishing and wanting and willing to take over greater responsibilities, and that's what makes the department so professional. People moving up the ranks and taking those responsibilities.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda, informational item, complimentary letters. Chief, it looks like we have quite a few of them.
Yes, the first one's for Officer Aniskevich, written by Mr. Steele. Want to register his thanks for Officer Aniskevich, wrong spelling, and his partner when they responded to our house at 212 Richards Avenue to help with their grandson who was acting out. They were both professional, empathetic, and supportive of my wife and our grandson. Unfortunately, Officer Aniskevich had to return this afternoon, and once again, he demonstrated the same characteristics. I'm sure you will please know that you have two officers who were supportive in a difficult situation. Please give them our sincerest thanks. So that's Officer Aniskevich. Stephen. He came out about 2 years ago. He was a transfer from Wilton PD.
Mm-hmm. Next.
Yes, from the DVCC for Officer Equi, Rivera, Olet, Alderando, and Prada. On behalf of the Teen Advisory Board and the DVCC, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to you and your team for supporting our teen movie night. Your presence was invaluable, and we truly appreciate the time and effort you dedicated to joining us. We look forward to partnering with you again. This was a teen movie night at the Sonoma Collection Mall, where we sent community policing officers and SROs to support that event. It's a great event.
Great.
This is just a letter of support from the town of New Canaan, from Chief John DeFederico. He sent a letter of support, thanking us for an incident that we assisted them with when they had an escapee from Silver Hills Hospital. Our second platoon officers worked with New Canaan and deployed a UAV drone to help locate this escapee who was eventually apprehended in New York. So the officers were up there for quite a long time, most of the shift, in helping this individual in the Silvermine area. And then they helped New Canaan receive information that he did go to New York, which ended up a successful culmination of that investigation using that intelligence that our second platoon officers had received. So this is just a note of thanks from Chief John DeFederico from New Canaan PD. Yes, there was, we don't get many of these, but a letter of thanks for one of our animal control officers, Joe Fellner. This is from a Mrs. Tiani. Wasn't sure who to send us to, but thought I could share this with you. My daughter goes to Tracy Magnet School, and this past year we had an incident where a golden retriever scared an Amazon delivery driver at our house, and the police animal control were called. My daughter had been working with her school project for the invention convention and assured the animal control officer to give cliff notes. It is a magnet to put on the mailbox to notify UPS workers and delivery drivers that a dog lives at the residence, and a sign that hangs on the door that says if there is a dog inside or outside. As part of her invention conventions, I think that was a great idea that she thought of. Well, today, and there was the presentation of all the kids' inventions and who happens to walk into the school, but the same animal control officer found that came to our house because animal control has been called for a raccoon on the back field. When he finished his investigation, he came into the gym to see my daughter's final project. Officer Fellner is such a kind man and was very professional and motivational about my daughter's project. She even made an addition to her project based on feedback from him. And there's a few attached pictures of Officer Fellner and the student in regards to the invention that she created for the mailboxes to warn delivery drivers of a possible dog on the premise.
What a great idea.
It is an excellent idea.
It is. It is a great idea.
She did a very good job on the presentation too.
Yes.
And thank the officer for his input in helping her to expand it.
Yeah, really, it's great.
And the final note is from Deputy Chief Robert Coppola of the Wilton Police Department, who sent us a letter of recognition and thanks for the unfortunate incident that occurred on March 6, 2025. in locating the missing female who was located in the Norwalk River off of Glover Avenues. Once it was again the 2nd Platoon commanded by Lieutenant Kruger. He supervised the operation up there in locating the deceased female. And we also, with Norwalk Fire Department, and we end up deploying some of our scuba team members to retrieve her from the river. And we collaborated with Wilton PD, and we took over the investigation in regards to her death. But that was just a note of thanks for helping them out, which was a missing person, which originally began in the town of Wilton.
Okay, well, again, a lot of letters of thanks. It's gratifying to see that people take their time to write when they appreciate some of the work that the officers are doing. And it's really nice to see. And again, it's just an example. The officers get involved in so many different things that are not just law enforcement related, not just arresting people. They're out there doing a lot of community work. And this is what really the people appreciate. Commissioners?
Also nice to get the letters from the other police departments in surrounding cities and how much they appreciate our help in their operations also. So it's great to hear.
Yeah, I think it demonstrates really great coordination between the departments, and indicative of everyone being engaged, which I think is really great.
It's
I
great.
too would like to just thank the Norwalk Police Department for doing great work. And again, like the mayor said, a lot of the work is not just arresting people, but there are many facets to what the Norwalk Police Department does. So just congratulations to the entire department and to the chief.
Thank you, sir.
Great that other towns realize what we already know, how wonderful the Norwalk Police Department is.
Okay, just for edification, in order to maybe clarify something, Mr. Levin talked about negotiations of contracts. The city is currently in negotiations with 5 different unions, and it's being conducted in a proper way through the attorneys and so forth. And the commission will be brought up to speed. If at any time you want to know a little bit more, feel free to call me, but understand there are limits to the things I can talk about during contract negotiations, because at the beginning of negotiations, we establish ground rules. And some of those ground rules prevent disclosure of any of the comments at any time. And that's standard procedure.
Thank you for the explanation, Mayor.
So I will take a motion. Well, the next meeting is April 21st, and now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 5:37. Thank you.
Thank you.
So long, everyone.